Slow down, lay your burden down.
Hey, welcome to Divergent Paths. I'm Dan Dunford. It's my show. Thanks for listening. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, also welcome. Because why would I treat you differently? I don't know. That went different in my head. Anyway, exciting week this week. A lot of things happening. First off, this is my 50th episode, which is weird to think about. I don't know, when I started this, I thought conceptually, ideally I would get to a 50th episode and beyond, but I don't know, sometimes things just don't work out, and a lot of times I kind of assume that they're not going to work out, but guess what? Here we are, 50 episodes in and going strong, and no end in sight, I would assume, hopefully, unless I'd all of a sudden get rich and famous really fast, which don't really see happening. Anyway, yeah. So, welcome to the 50th episode of Divergent Paths. So, other things, exciting things happening this week. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you will probably already know this, but I launched a YouTube channel this week, which I can't give an easy address to, because until you get 100 subscribers, YouTube assigns you a jumble of numbers and letters to identify your YouTube channel, which is endlessly frustrating for people who are trying to brand things neatly and cleanly. But I am confident that I will, with your help, will hit that 100 subscriber mark sooner rather than later. My first video that wasn't just the podcast episodes up on YouTube is with Emily Davidson. It's a fun speed round that we did. That segment will be returning every week, just short segments with my guests called Reverse Oracle, which someone suggested the name Oracle, the Oracle, for my speed round segment, and I said, wait a minute, you're supposed to ask the Oracle questions, and if I'm the Oracle, I'm asking the questions. So, thus, Reverse Oracle, which, it's a kind of a complicated name, and I actually, it's not a complicated name, but a complicated story behind the name, and really what it ends up happening is I just kind of like the name. So, that's how that goes. Check that out. I have linked to it I'm linked to it on my Instagram as well as Facebook page. So that's really fun, and I'll have another video coming out this next week on Tuesday with Stephanie Ann Boyd, previous guest and wonderful composer and good friend. So check that video out on Tuesday. I might change the day of the week that the videos come out, but I might not. I'm not sure yet. So still a work in progress. But those will be coming every week. In addition to that, again, busy week. I launched a Patreon account, which, if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a way for people to support what they term creators. And I guess I am the creator in this. That sounds pretentious. In this parlance that they use. But it's a way for people to support things that they like, and people who produce things that they like. Of course, in my case, that's the podcast and the YouTube channel. I don't know. I always have felt uncomfortable asking for money, but in this case, it's a really easy way to support what I'm doing, even in a very small way. The podcast, the planning, the editing, the video stuff, all this stuff, it takes a lot of time, and it does. I've chosen to do this and be a freelance trombonist instead of having a part-time job and being a freelance trombonist. Fortunately, I don't know. It's a lot of work, and I really want to keep doing it, and I want to keep it free online for people, basically. And I understand the irony of saying I want to keep something free and then ask for money for it. I get that. But Patreon makes it really easy to give like just small amounts of money, even if it's $1 a month, $5 a month, something small, but something that can really help. It's a pledge format, much like those dreaded PBS telethons that you might remember from your childhood. But if you can see your way to throw me a few dollars, if you enjoy what I do, I would appreciate it. So Patreon, it's patreon.com/Divergent Paths Pod. You can also hit the it's a little not quite so intuitive, but if you go to my Facebook page and hit the Shop Now button at the top of the page, that'll send you to the Patreon account, and you can see how that works. Even if you don't give any money and you just want to see like what's up with that, do so. Anyway. So this week, my guest is the wonderful group Devil in the Deep Blue Sea. This group was started by Pat Kennedy and Lizzie Quinlan. Pat's guitar and vocals, Lizzie's harp and vocals. They're wonderful people. My old Manus classmate, Matt Kodolajetsky, also plays with them now, plays cello. And, they just sound great. Beautiful music, lovely voices, great harmonies. It scratches an itch in my listening brain that I really like to have scratched, in the vein of the great folk singers that I enjoy listening to. Very, very good music, really enjoyable. And I get into how I kind of ran across their music in the episode with them, but yeah, I had a really good time talking to them. We had a lot of fun, even though it was 8 a.m. Everyone, it seemed like everyone had a good time. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I have 2 of their songs featured on this episode. Before the interview, the tune "Calling It Love" from their EP, which is lovely, and at the end, a tune called "Ashland" from their live album. And as you'll hear in the interview, all their music is available on all the streaming platforms, from Amazon to YouTube to iTunes to Tidal, etc. So look them up, hit them up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Devil in the Deep Blue Sea. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Please subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, rather, not both. It wouldn't make sense to do both. I guess subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you really enjoy it, leave a review on iTunes, because iTunes likes it when when podcasts get positively reviewed. iTunes sees that and will give bumps. I don't know. I'm just trying to get this out to more people. I think it's good. So, anyway, enjoy the episode with Devil in the Deep Blue Sea.
2, 3. Did you find the answer? Have you heard enough? Did I say too little? Did I think too much? Is it written, or did you just make it up? Are we flying? Are we falling? Are we calling it love?
Am I another home you lost in the flood?
Thanks for doing this at 8 a.m.
Sure.
This is dope.
I'm always at that.
Are you the first that
Yeah,
I
you guys both look more peppy than I feel. But that's okay. It's an act. It's an act. Okay. Well, so Lizzie,
Yes.
Patrick, or just Pat?
Yeah,
Doesn't
that works.
Do you prefer one?
Yeah, let's go with Pat.
Okay, Lizzie, Pat, thanks for doing this. This is I'm happy that
Sure.
we can do this.
Are we recording right now?
Yeah, we have been like since we were talking about George Bush,
Oh my
but
God.
that I'm not gonna.
Do not quote my political
I'm not
opinions
gonna.
on this podcast.
No. But it's funny. I don't remember if it was before the New Year or after the New Year. I don't remember. But I was in a rehearsal at a studio on Stanton Street, and it's like late night, 9 to 11 or 9, 8 to 10, something late night, whatever. That's late for me. I'm an old person. But my girlfriend, who's a harp player,
Say what
a
now?
harpist, was like, "Oh, I'm at this thing. I'm at this thing at Rockwood. Like, you should, in this rehearsal studio is like a 7 or 8 minute walk from Rockwood." So I was like, "Oh, okay. I'll swing, come by. I play there every once in a while. It's not a bad, during the week, on later nights, it's not super crowded. But I get there and it's like super crowded. And I'm like, oh, huh, this is nice. Oh, hey, look, there's my old classmate Matt Kodolajewski on stage.
Oh, wow.
What's happening?
Yeah, Matt, he's a good guy.
Did you get rid of him? Did you get rid of him?
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
If we did, we wouldn't tell you.
Yeah, that's like, you're right. It's like he was a good guy. But we had
No, he still is a good guy.
Yeah.
As far as I'm
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, and so like.
It's just already going
I called
well.
Matt the other
We're
day.
already killing people.
I called Matt the other day for haircut advice. I was like, Matt, where do you get your haircut? Asking for a friend. And he was like, my sister cuts my hair, so that's not transferable,
Yeah.
but it's very cute.
Well, I mean, you can just go to Jersey and have her
Yeah.
do it. But yeah, so like me and Matt went to Manus together. So it was just kind of like, oh, this is nice. I really like this music. It's dope. And then my girlfriend got your card, and then I did not get it from her. And then 6 months later, I'm like, all right.
Thank you
I
so much.
remember.
Well, I'm glad those cards are doing their work because we have thousands of them.
Well, the thing is, I didn't even like look for the card. I just went on the Facebook, but
I take it back.
so I didn't necessarily use the card. She still has it, but anyway. But I was really when I saw you guys live, I was really into it. So I
Well, thank you.
I was
Thank you very much.
So first off, I love the name. I really like this name, Devil in the Deep Blue Sea. Where did why it's a very catchy name. It's one that sticks. It's very indicative in my brain. It kind of fits the kind of music you play. I don't know what that means. I can't even quantify what that means.
It's a folksy expression.
Yeah.
Dualities and whimsy are what we deal in.
Right.
Is that fair to say? What was the name of the book? The one about the cellist?
Death with Interruptions.
Yes, Death with Interruptions. It's a novel about a cellist, but this was before we
And about death.
Yeah, about death. Yeah, it's like an allegory about death coming to Earth and falling in love with this cellist, and that expression popped up. It
Over
felt,
and over, yeah.
and it, of course, I mean, it's such a catchy expression, but I think we had this huge Google Doc going,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, well, there's more to say about our history with Google Docs.
Always.
I mean, this band, we built this city on Google Docs.
It's true.
Yeah, so it stuck, and it felt like our.
Yeah, I very specifically remember Lizzie saying, I like this expression because to be between the devil and the deep blue sea means to kind of be between a rock and a hard place. And Lizzie said, I like it because it's so hard to do music and so hard not to do music. And that's what this name captures. And
Yeah.
we both like the book.
Yeah.
It was about music. And
It just, it
and
fit.
naming a band was
It was so hard.
the most tiring.
I've never named a
difficult.
baby, but I can
You
imagine.
can also go John.
Yeah,
That's fine.
You can.
You can't.
Male or female, you can go with John.
True.
and you can, and if all else fails, you can just call it Baby for a
Right.
while.
Right, right.
Yeah, you can't. Well, I mean, I guess you could have gone on stage.
Oh, that
with
would be a
them.
really good band
I was
name.
gonna say, I guess you could go on stage.
Oh,
with
wow,
the
we
band
should have named this
Baby.
Bose bands. Already.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
See, this is the problem with bands.
Yeah.
Somebody else is
A lot of
Somebody's
the good
done
names
it
are taken, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's. I wish I could say I had gone through the same like process of like real careful consideration when I named my podcast, but it wasn't. It was 3 a.m. and I needed to submit it to iTunes, and I was like, what's a great name? 5 minutes go by. This works.
Well, it's very sci-fi.
Yeah.
I was misled at first, but I like that. Yeah.
That's cool. I do have episodes where I talk about aliens with my guests, which is
Good.
thing, but
we can get into that.
I have strong opinions about aliens, I guess. I don't know. Does anyone not? I mean,
I don't.
Yeah, I can't say I do.
That's fair. I don't, so the core, was it when you guys started out, like, it was just the two of you?
Yes.
And like, what's kind of like the background, of you guys starting music in your own personal way, but like, and also, kind of coming together and like, well, let's put it this way. Harp is a very specific kind of thing. Like guitar, sure, you're going to see that in most bands. I'm just going to say, most bands.
It's true. You're not wrong.
I try not to be. But like adding a harp to a band, like first off, most of the time when you see it, it's in a situation where you can't really move a harp around too easily. I'm in the position of having moved a concert grand harp many times.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you.
I love my girlfriend. It's fine. But also
like in the other room.
Right.
She was like doing the finger across the throat movement.
Oh my God, are you okay?
But I mean, like, folk harp has its place in popular culture and popular music and just like folk music in general. But it's not necessarily something you see regularly, So we're just like,
So
how did this kind of thing? How did you start playing harp? How did you guys get together? How why? Why try and strike out? Why? Folk groups have really hit a point where, there's a lot of them, and Brooklyn is kind of a place where there's really, like, even if there's not necessarily as many as people think, like, perception is that, oh, you have a folk band, you must live in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
That's kind of just not even just in New York, just in culture at large.
Yep.
That's a lot of things that I just asked you about, but I'm confident in.
No, I think you can take it. So the earliest chronological question. I started playing harp when I was 10. I played violin. I did the Suzuki starting at 3 thing. You stand on the little mat. And I didn't really like it. I didn't like playing violin, but I loved playing music. I recently actually asked my mom, like, when I was like playing in those recitals when I was like, in preschool, did I look like I was having fun? And she was like, you didn't look. I wouldn't say you looked like you were having fun, but you looked like you knew what you were doing. So then I found, I don't know, I think I saw someone play a harp. Someone played a harp on Different Strokes. They had a concert harp and they brought it up in the elevator in New York City. So I was like, I want to do that.
That makes me so happy.
I love Different Strokes. It's a great show.
Best reason to start an instrument ever.
Yeah.
Is Different Strokes. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and then we found a teacher. I rented one. And then I took classical lessons all through, middle and high school. And then when I was 16, I started a country girl group with 2 of my friends in high school. We played a lot of like Dixie Chicks and early Avid Brothers and Nickel Creek kind of stuff.
Where are you from?
New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's just what people were into. Like, I didn't really listen to country music, but I wanted to be in a band with my friends, and that's what they listened to. So that's what we did. And then I went to college across the country, and I could not bring my harp. It was the only instrument I played, but I didn't have one. And I met this dude, and I found out he was all hooked up in the music department and had keys to the practice rooms.
And
I was really strategic.
Yeah, she's a strategic friend.
Where was this?
We went to Stanford, and we met in the poli-sci department when we both were research interns.
Yeah, Lizzie.
And Pat liked it so much more than I did.
I loved it. I worked for this great guy and had this exciting project. And
well, I really liked the stuff I was researching. It was like global warming research and, voter behavior. But I am not a researcher. That's not where my heart
Girl, I am with you.
Lizzie used to, there were these lunch seminars there was this big old round table where we'd come in and somebody would present some of the stuff they were working on. Lizzie would walk into the room with this terrible look on her face, kind of like a ghost, and she would sit down across the table and look at me and whisper, "Help me." It's like with this.
It sounds so bratty. Like, it was cool work. I can't look at Excel spreadsheets all day. It really, and that's a lot of what, that's what you have to do for a lot of projects. That's how you get the info. That's how you get the info. But I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how we became friends.
As poli-sci interns, just
Well, yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
I feel like many incarnations of
That's true.
first meetings.
Yes.
I'm not even sure which one is the real
Yeah,
first
the
meeting.
first meeting I remember
Yeah.
is that they had a Christmas in July party at the co-op where you lived in Theta Chi. And I went in there, and it was like July, and there was this dude at the piano playing fucking Christmas carols, and it was great. Like they had that ratty little piano.
Right.
It was awesome.
what were you guys at Stanford for? Like,
I did literature, comparative literature.
okay.
Yeah, and I did political science.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how were you like so plugged in with the music people then?
I considered and was very close to being a music major, and I was constantly
I
working.
didn't even know
like,
Stanford. I mean, I assumed Stanford had a music program, but it's
Yeah.
not one you hear about much.
Yeah, very technology focused.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've got the money for it.
But yeah, they've been doing great things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
I kind of wish I went there now. I have all these amazing like new facilities and like arts grants. I could do commercials for.
Totally. right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my first musical memory of.
I won't. This is a non-for-profit podcast.
I'm fresh off of listening to Malcolm Gladwell do like a fucking takedown on Stanford's president.
Yeah.
But that's.
Oh sure, yeah.
That's me being like.
Yeah, he's a grumpy man.
Yeah.
The president or Malcolm Gladwell?
I'm an old man now.
The president is not grumpy. He is. It's an amazing temperament for the shit that he puts up
Yeah,
with.
it's totally.
But
I think any person that counts it. Anyway, that's
right.
neither here nor there. So you're
Oh,
like
yeah, you
you're
were in
hooked
the
in with
department.
the.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I remember the first time musically that I remember meeting Lizzie was at an acoustic jukebox performance.
Oh yeah.
With Hannah.
At
and
the
my,
Enchanted Broccoli Forest.
Yeah, and my good friend Eli.
Wait, is that? I can't tell whether you're joking.
No,
or
that's
not.
the name of one of the houses where we played in the living room.
Right.
I have no words.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Right.
Really,
It's a real place.
I believe you. That's just I'm a little thrown for a loop, but
Yeah, I had a friend once who went to visit me and was flirting with this girl, and he was asking her, "Where do you live?" "My friend lives in the co-op," and
Yeah.
she said, "Oh, I live in the Enchanted Broccoli Forest," and he thought she was trying to get rid of him. I think it was real.
You could just tell me you're not
Right.
interested.
Exactly.
although to be fair,
It's an actual place.
depending on the type of guy, if you're like into like kind of like flights of whimsy, and
Which
like,
we are.
exactly. If
Have
you're-
you learned nothing?
If your movie of choice is 500 Days of Summer and you listen to like really twee indie pop,
Sure.
like a girl saying she lived in the Enchanted Broccoli Forest is like
What?
that's the dream.
Yeah, it's true.
Sure.
And I've
Yeah.
been there.
I have been there.
not in that frame of mind, not in the Enchanted
I
Broccoli
got you.
Forest. Anyway, sorry. Please continue. I'm like just can't. We could just talk about the Enchanted Broccoli Forest for a while and what that could mean,
Oh yeah.
but we should not.
Yeah,
Let's
they used to do
continue.
shows there.
Yeah,
It was fun.
they used to do shows. You guys did an amazing set, and I just remember being like, these people.
Well, thank you. That was our first
They have the
show.
talent. Yeah.
We started a little trio, senior year of college. I was playing harp, and my friend Hannah was singing, and our buddy Eli would play violin, and yeah, that was when I finally got the little folk harp. Some friends from home helped me get this really awesome little travel harp, and that changed a lot because when you're playing the concert harp, like it's wonderful and there's so much you can do with it and it's so versatile, especially having the pedals. But you move to California and you can't bring it with you, and whenever you do play, you're in a room somewhere, you have to go to it. So it's not like, having your guitar lying around and you can just pick it up and write any time, or, bring it out to gigs or go to open mic night or whatever. You really have to think about a plan when you want to bring the concert harp out. So just having the folk harp, once I got it, we started doing, these little open mic things.
And you guys write all of your own stuff, obviously, I would assume.
Yes. We do an occasional cover for the people.
For the masses.
And for ourselves.
Yes.
I
do it for the people.
Okay, I do it for me.
Like, there's just some songs I just want to play.
That's true.
Like, there's some, what is it? This track, Daydreaming by Lupe Fiasco.
Oh, that's a great song.
Right. And I was listening to, it was on a TV show, like, I knew the song, but it was a recent TV show episode used it, and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, that song.
Yeah.
I went and listened to it like 20 times in a week, and I was like, man, I just want to, like, be in a group that plays this song.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, the samples that, and, like, the
That would be great with just, like,
the orchestral, like, arrangements he uses, yeah, it just sounds cool. Like, it would be fun to play. Anyway, but, so, so you write your own, like, how did you develop, like, the ensemble kind of, your group kind of in its current formation per se?
Oh yeah. Well, you moved to DC after graduation.
Let me rephrase it. Let me like, what kind of time frame we're talking about? When is this that we're like?
Oh yeah.
The current incarnation.
The current incarnation started after we graduated in 2013. So we'd played together in college in this big folk band of friends, and then Patrick moved to DC. I was in California. That's when the Google Docs came in. We started dumping our lyrics onto this big Google Doc and like Skyping, and we'd talk about songs and, write a bunch.
Yeah.
Some of those songs we
Very
still play now. Yeah.
Right, yeah, very open-mindedly. I look back in that Google Doc sometimes and I'm like, wow, I can't believe I had the audacity to share
Oh yeah,
these
same.
kinds
Like we
of
just
terrible
play
songs with
but that's
other
how it
people.
has to
Right,
start.
of course,
yeah,
of
like
course,
we
yeah.
without like editing, it was just let's hear the first versions of whatever we're working on. Because we'd both just graduated and we were, working jobs and wanted to keep, as Nickel Creek says, why should the fire die? So we just kept writing and Skyping, which is hard. You can't, there's delay on Skype, so you can't really play. We discovered early on it's tough to rehearse via Skype. Yeah, so we would do we did a couple of those trips. We went to Oregon and we went to Point Reyes. We would get friends together and just play for a weekend. And then, I don't know, what was the timeline then? Oh yeah, then I moved to DC for the summer, the year after, a year later. So we had written all these songs, like dozens of songs, and then I finally came out to the East Coast and we started practicing.
How did you both end up in New York then?
Oh, yeah. And I think there was another Google Doc there. There was a
There was a Google Doc.
Yeah. No.
And
Well, we went on a tour
one time you
before.
It's true. I forgot.
You put in like New York ? And he's like, yes, exclamation
No,
point.
it's true. Like we did a pro con because we'd lived in DC for like a year at that point. We played, all over DC, and then we went on tour across the country.
I think of the tour as just this like tether ball that
I
we
know.
just like hit and we just kind of like on it both ways.
It's true.
It was just this whirlwind of a summer. As tours go.
We lived out of the Prius.
Right.
Another thing I would
like
love to
good
do
folk
for
liberals.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
I would do commercials for Prius. That's great.
But yeah, we drove across the whole country and all the way to San Diego and up to Seattle.
Like, and you were playing your way across
yeah.
the country. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
and all kinds of
hold on.
like.
Let's just talk about this.
Yeah.
This. Okay.
Oh, the tales we could tell.
Exactly.
right.
That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Like, it's kind of a young person cliche that goes back to like the kind of like Kerouacian
Oh yeah.
business in the 50s, and like this idea when
They didn't really have chicks in the band, I'll point out.
Sure.
In the Kerouac dream.
Well, Kristen Stewart was in the movie, so I'm assuming there was a girl somewhere.
Yeah.
I haven't read the whole book, so I can just talk about themes. I have real opinions about things I don't read. Like really strong opinions. But
I like the word Kerouacian.
Right, it's because it's like kind of off
It's my
kilter.
contribution to the podcast.
Yeah.
But I mean, like this idea of like going across the country, like, and you know, at that point in time, like the folk revolution was kind of happening,
Yeah.
like the first like pop folk rock kind of deal, and that's kind of I don't know. I'm just like fascinated by like the idea of doing that kind of a thing in the 21st century, where, you know, in 50s and 60s, sure there was, I mean, LA, like the West had been settled for a long time, but there was still like a kind of romance about going out, like and kind of traveling around as part of your birthright as an
Go
American.
West, young man.
Learn like what your country's about. Now, like there's no mystery about any place in the U.S. I mean, really, there's some, but
I feel like there was for me. Like I grew up in New Jersey, and then we went to school in California. Pat's from Illinois, so you knew more. You knew more what was up.
Yeah,
But, like I'd never
Midwest.
been anywhere in the middle of the country, so there was a lot of mystery there for me. Like
you
we
missed out on a lot of cornfields.
Oh, it was fantastic though.
Well,
I loved
Kansas.
it.
Kansas-
Kansas was the best place we went. Like hands
they were all
down.
good, but Kansas was like just the
We
most
had the most fun in
Wheat fields
Kansas.
in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean,
saloons. I loved
it's
the
true. Yeah,
saloons.
we did
Yeah.
Kansas City on both sides, the Missouri side and the Kansas side, and we
Right.
just met the nicest people and had the best barbecue and got so drunk in the what they say was the oldest bar west of the Mississippi.
Right, but you think at least some ignorant people might think that the Midwest is kind of quiet on the
Yeah.
weeknights. We were like out until like 3 a.m.
Oh,
on
yeah.
Wednesday.
Oh,
just like Kansas was going hard. It
Yeah,
was-
Kansas
it
was
great.
Kansas was dope.
It was fun.
But the reason I like went through my like semi-educated like ramblings was to be kind of like bring up the idea of like why did you decide to, you know, why decide to do that in a climate where like for me, like I'm just gonna bring it back to myself because I'm
Sure.
the most important person. Like
Hell
when
yeah, this is your podcast. You're on the
it's,
show.
it's my goddamn show. But when I personally think about traveling, I'm like, shit. Well, I can't afford that. I have to pay my rent. Like if as a freelance musician, if I'm out of the city for too long, like people stop calling.
Yeah.
And even when you're in the city, sometimes they're not calling that much either. You know. So it's really a risky like when I think about it, it's kind of like it's a risky proposition. Even though like traveling around the country, town to town, is like something I want to do my whole life. Like I can't like conceive of that because I don't have the resources to do it. So what kind of was like the driving motivation to do that? That's a heavy undertaking for like a boy and his guitar and a girl and her harp.
Yeah, it is and it was. Well, I think we really wanted to go back to California. We still had a lot of friends there. And we wanted to go on tour. I mean, like, you have to go on tour. It's so, I mean, you gotta go on tour if you're in a band.
I was ready to leave DC before another summer.
Yeah.
As well.
It's so sticky there.
It's just not.
Yeah.
I lived in Southern Virginia for 3 years, which is
Right.
It's such a
similar.
swamp.
And we had
it's
music friends
grody.
just all over the country who
We had people to stay with. That's the thing. Like, we didn't do it fancy.
They
No,
had
of course not. That's
they
not
had
the
constantly offered. People are always
Yeah.
being nice, but they don't know.
Yeah, they say, oh, if you're ever in St. Louis, come crash on my couch. If you're ever in
Cleveland,
Denver.
like, right,
yeah.
They never
And then we actually,
expect you to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's
we are
awesome.
those people that, hello, we're here.
Well, and it's funny because like I always say like tell people I'm like I live in New York. New York's an expensive place to visit. Like seriously, call me up. Like, no, hardly anyone ever does. But.
Yeah, no, we actually took people up on it, and it's funny. I would like to say, actually, when we were in, I want to say when we were in St. Louis, someone asked me like after the show, like, oh, what a fun thing, you know, young people on tour. Are you just going where the wind blows you? And I was like, ma'am, we started the Google Doc spreadsheet for this 8 months ago. I've sent hundreds of booking emails. Like it was not a spontaneous road trip by any means. Like
It had its spontaneous
it
moments.
had spontaneous
for sure,
moments, but
right.
it was meticulously planned,
And
and I
that-
saved my tips in a shoebox for a year to go on that tour.
And well, that's the thing. Like with what I was just bringing up, like this idea of like the rambling, like poet or musician from the 50s or 60s, yeah, like that. And that's the, like, when you say you did what you did, like, that's the image that comes to mind. Not just for me, obviously, because other people are like, well, you just gotta, like, roamed around. And
Those are dudes who feel safe anywhere. I would never.
Slept on the side. Yeah.
No, I don't mean to be a bummer, but seriously, like, I think a lot of those tropes of the rambling men really are for men. I would never. I feel like in this day and age, and I don't know, it doesn't seem real, and I don't. It's less romantic than it sounds. Like, it just takes so much boring emailing and like.
Yeah, well, that's
little band meetings. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, and well, I mean, booking emails are fucking pain in the ass no matter what.
You're just throwing yourself into the void. Like, here I am.
Screaming into the void, hoping the void sends something back.
Exactly.
Well, from I mean, you're emailing people who have no idea who the fuck you are across the country. How many towns did you end up hitting?
I don't know, a bunch. We did
something like that.
We did DC down to, what was the furthest south, I think, was St. Louis, and then Kansas, Denver, down
Cleveland and Chicago.
Cleveland and Chicago. Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
Denver.
How did you forget about
Yeah,
Chicago?
Yeah, right.
I forgot. Sorry.
We were running. That's why.
We had one day in Chicago, and I'd never been there, so we were like, let's be strategic.
I need to show you everything. Yeah, right.
We just ran the whole city.
Yeah. Are you from around Chicago, or are you from
I'm from the Chicago suburbs, right? And,
which like my family's all from Chicago.
Sure, I'm from Palatine.
Gotcha. My granddad is Cook County judge.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Good to know.
If you want to like take the trip out to go like south to Markham and Palos Heights, that's if you get a traffic violation you want to get taken care of, go all the way down there. Sure.
Is it just like The Good Wife?
It's exactly
scandal,
like The Good
intrigue.
I like The Good Wife a lot.
Oh, it's so good.
Juliana Margulies is a queen.
Her wigs are terrific on that show.
Those aren't wigs. That's just
they
how
are.
Her hair is. I choose to believe that that's just how her hair is. Anyway.
I remember running through Chicago because I wanted to show them the city, and I was like, oh, we can run down the lake, you guys can see Michigan Avenue, and we were running down Michigan Avenue, down, the fancy part, and everybody's in suits and like has nice clothes and shopping bags, and we're just in these, exercise clothes. And I remember just some guy saying, "Are you guys being chased?" What's just bolting.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Drive it like you stole it is how we live.
Just like on foot.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it.
It was nice though.
It was a great time. It was a great time.
Well, so like, what did you guys had already been together for a while, like playing around DC, which. Is the DC music scene different, a lot different than New York? Is it? It
is, and it's really cool. It's a cool place to go, especially if you are starting a band or you are touring. There's a really great house music, a house show scene, and there's some nice small venues, but there aren't that many venues. So after a while,
a very small scene. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great because people are really friendly and supportive and will really show up to shows, and so it's a cool place to be starting out. It's very encouraging.
Kind of going back to what you were saying Brooklyn's almost an archetype now of where a folk band lives. But there's I think being in a band in DC, you'd tell people about it and be like, you can be in a band here. Like, how do you?
It was so hard.
Right, but you
every single person I met, you can't go out to a bar and what do you do, and tell someone, you're just there to be in a band. You just get this look of this glazed over look, what?
Right, but then you come to New York and you tell people you're in a folk band and you live in Brooklyn, and it's kind of another harp guitar duo from Brooklyn.
I know of 2 or 3.
Right, I know. We've seen some in the New York Times front page. We're like,
that's true.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you got to do is you got to grow a beard.
Yeah, I've been working on it. And I don't appreciate that you're not noting my progress.
It's too hot. It's too hot for a beard.
I would agree.
Yeah.
You can call me back in the winter. We can talk.
No, it's just you know, like as far as DC music scene goes, like the only thing that I'm aware of that came out of there is like punk in the 80s, and
that's true.
and like, but like now
There's a terrific jazz scene.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's
Jazz scene.
like amazing jazz scene, really a small but very cool hip hop scene. I mean, everything's kind of smaller than New York. It's not all actually that small, but it, you know, just comparatively. And then, I mean, in Virginia, there's a pretty good folk and bluegrass scene.
That makes
Everything's like a little bit smaller scale, but it's there, and people are very friendly about it.
We
It's
went to
easy
that bluegrass festival in West Virginia,
Oh,
which
that was amazing.
That was great. I love
Well, see,
that.
that's for me. Like when I think about it, that's the one thing. Like if you're doing like folk bluegrass in DC, you're actually closer to the roots of where
It's
that
true.
music comes from, as opposed to like we're going back.
Sure, well, it's got so many roots is the thing.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
it's
true.
America.
Like it's Americana, like you
Right.
know, kind of deal, which is just so popular now that like it doesn't matter. Like plenty of like country bands don't have to be from the South
true.
anymore,
And in some ways, the Paul Simon New York archetype is also such a powerful.
Yeah.
because that's like that Simon and Garfunkel, Dylan
Influence, yeah.
you know, like
Right,
towers
absolutely.
over everything. If like that,
Yeah, in terms of singer-songwriter, this is
Mhm.
where
Right.
this is where the heroes.
Yeah, so-
I mean, not all, but many. Yeah.
So I
Right.
mean, you did this like crazy tour like after not having been together for all that long.
That's true.
Which that's the one thing is like I know lots of groups who have been together for a while and they like just keep kind of like hitting the same places around New York even.
Yeah.
And it's like which is fine, but like the you can like get into a thing where you never leave the city.
It's true.
Um,
It's easier to do that in New York. I feel like we both felt so antsy all the time. Like, what's going to be next? Like I feel like we've always been scheming. So we had to go on tour.
What,
you
I
know?
mean, what were you doing like besides the music?
In DC,
Mm-hmm.
I worked in a coffee shop. It was fun. It's kind of wild. You know, it helps you learn how to perform. Keep your face on.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a research job
Yeah.
at the Fed.
He helped me do my taxes.
Right.
That's a helpful.
Right. Yeah. It was you could hardly get through a weekend in the bars in DC without somebody teaching you more about
I
taxes.
know, it's great.
You're like just pure
Oh,
osmosis.
God.
I learned a lot about.
If everyone
tax
could
code.
stop trying to help me with my taxes.
Well, the thing is like, I would imagine like in New York, the guys like that like don't hang out at the same bars as the rest of the people.
Oh, it's true. No, I mean, it's a much bigger city and people kind of
Right.
stick to their little pockets.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, like DC has their like the Georgetown scene, and
Yeah.
this and that scene and that scene, but it's like, anyway, that's point is like, but was there much like holding you down, like to keep you from going and doing stuff with your music, or you know, did you balance that like successfully, unsuccessfully? I don't know.
Well, there's always money. Like,
Yeah,
there's
that's the
always
thing.
like, this is like it's a hard, you know, deciding I want to play my songs for a living is like a hard decision to make. It's an especially hard decision to make if you're like, well, I also need to support myself, as many of us do. So you're always kind of hustling and cobbling something together. That's how I felt about it.
But I mean, like, it wasn't that, like, back to, like, what I said, like, at this point, it's probably, like, 15, 20 minutes ago about, like, coming to New York from, you know, what brought you here?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean,
well, we were just, I feel like,
I mean,
we were in
was there a
DC
lot holding you down in
It's
DC?
just the way the
No.
rubber
But
band
it's just
came
kinda-
back.
It's true. Yeah, well, my family's from here, so I always was like a little bit of a black sheep. Like my family's super close knit, and I was always the one that was off doing something. So, you know, while this is a big scary city, in a lot of ways it felt like the safe choice. I know that's, I mean, not true of you, but we kind of were deciding like, okay, it's time to move on from DC. Where are we gonna go to make this music thing happen, right? Or
Yeah.
just to see what's next, and it made a lot of sense to come here.
Right. Yeah. In the couple of years that I was in DC, I used to take the megabus up to New York
Yeah.
every couple months, more or less, to play a show, to see friends, and I was always just so captivated by the energy and the music scene, and just the diversity of people and everything about it. And so there kind of came a point, I think, when I was making my 15th megabus trip.
Yeah,
when I was
let's put a ring on it.
I need to stop this and just move there.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
I actually flew into New York from Alaska. At the end of the tour, I went to visit some family in Alaska, my family, and
just some family.
right. But I just remember it doesn't. In July in Alaska, it doesn't get dark. So I was just kind of deliriously bopping around the world.
Yeah,
and
well,
then
we
I
just got
flew
on that
into
tour.
New York and got in like 6 a.m. and just it's very different than Alaska.
Yeah.
Just
We
good.
did
I
that
would've
tour,
imagined.
and like Patrick went to Alaska, and then
Yeah.
I went to New Orleans, and then we met up back in New York.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just
Here we
that's
are.
Just and here we are.
Yeah. Here we are.
And how when did you guys move here?
A year ago.
Yeah, about a year ago.
And from a expectation standpoint, what hey, I started this show about a year ago. And
Mazel.
oh,
Yeah, congrats.
thank you. But and for me, it's the expectations versus reality have been very different, obviously. And moving to a different city to do and into a completely different music scene, and et cetera. That's much bigger than just sitting at your computer with 2 microphones. So how has that kind of how has it been for you as a group?
Well, I think my expectations have been exactly met, but more so. We came here because there were so many venues, and it's there are so many things to plug into. Everyone, there's just so many people doing what we do here, which was encouraging, and that has proved to be true and very encouraging. And there's a lot of places to play and a lot of people who love folk music, which is great, but it's also just so expensive and kind of stressful, all the things you expect. So yeah, it's been, I found it to be very tough, but also I think now a year in, I sort of feel like I've finally looked around and I know where I'm going.
You've been here long enough to look back on something.
Yeah.
Maybe not much, but you have something to look back on and be like, well, I'm not in the same place I was 12 months ago.
Yeah.
So I have to say that's a success,
Yes.
And the comedian Mike Birbiglia talks about the first time he went on stage to do stand-up, right?
But I love him.
Right. He's one of my favorite stand-ups.
I watched Sleepwalk with Me 2 days ago, and it really cut to the core of me.
The
movie.
Okay, the movie.
Yeah.
I was because his special.
Oh yeah, the
is
special is
the same
awesome
one.
too.
But he talks about the first time he went on stage. I think in Sleepwalk with Me, where he's he goes on stage. He does he has. They ask him for 30 minutes. He has 11 minutes, and then that 11 minutes turned into 3 minutes. He bombs. He throws up on the sidewalk outside the club. Goes home to his girlfriend, and is that went pretty well.
Yeah.
And that's what you kind of have to tell yourself, no matter what happens, that this is going pretty well.
Yeah.
Sure,
and what there's differing degrees of whether it's true or not. And after a year, a month in, you might have been in that same situation where you're figuratively throwing up on the sidewalk but having to tell yourself I'm here, this is going pretty well.
Right.
But on the contrast to that, it's nice to look back and be oh well, it actually was going pretty well.
Right.
Which it's
and
hard
even
to
if it
do.
wasn't going pretty well, I always imagine myself in my worst moments. I try and zoom up. You imagine yourself as you would write that scene in your memoirs. Dear reader, what you must understand is in those days I had this crappy job and I was barely scraping by, but you just You have to narrativize it so that it doesn't seem so terrible and immediate.
It's like in the Ken Burns Civil War documentary where they're they have like voice actors reading the letters of the soldiers. It's
My
like,
dear Louisa.
Oh God.
Oh boy.
Anyway, but it works.
It really does.
I mean, you guys have been playing around in the city a bunch. You've had people noticing things that you're doing, which is cool.
Oh, we hope so. Thank you.
Well, I mean, at least to some extent.
Yeah. Here we are.
Yeah, right. No, we can talk more about actual music shit.
Great.
Yes.
I
like music.
Let the listeners notice we're rubbing our hands together in expectation.
Right.
Yeah, let's talk about music.
Let's talk about music. When it comes to how you think about your writing and your sound concepts, and I guess the people that influence you, and kind of how you develop on your influences to create your own kind of unique take on what is a popular genre, particularly mainstream wise over the past 5 to 7 years, after the alternative stopped being the alternative,
right?
Killers, Panic at the Disco sound started being less popular, and the more folk type of Americana things started becoming more popular. And there's a lot there. There's a lot to draw from. There's a lot of things that you can fall into, where oh, am I too much on this side? Am I too much on this side? Where do you guys kind of see yourselves within that kind of culture and community?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna punt it.
Well, I think I would just kind of start by noting that we just had a lot of musical backgrounds coming into this, and that Lizzie did a lot of folk music and country and knew a lot of hip hop and stuff like that, and I had a background in classical and jazz and other kinds of folk and pop and things
So
like
between
that.
the two of you kind of cover all your bases in some ways, which is
we try and meet
helpful.
in the middle.
Yeah, and we've done just all kinds of arrangements and experiment with the sounds in terms of the instrumentation, bringing in string players and having fiddle players and also having classical players and writing parts for them, and playing with jazz drummers and jazz trumpet players.
Yeah.
So I think kind of keeping it fun.
Yeah.
Playing with people we like is important.
Yeah.
I think it happens more organically.
Yeah,
way.
well, I think the idea is
Right.
that we each write our songs individually, and then with the understanding that there's any number of arrangements that could give it justice, that can serve the song well. And so I think for a lot of our songs, we have sort of a duo, harp, guitar, vocals, and sometimes just guitar vocals arrangement, and then all the way up to we kind of imagine what would a full band look like for this. And so that might mean adding trumpet and actually having a drummer, maybe
little string section or
yeah, I
something,
think
right?
we often gravitate towards cellists. I think you especially do, just because they can. Cellists are always the good cellists are always so versatile, and they can add so much in terms of warmth, and it's such a great voice to add. Yeah,
they can it's pro cello.
yeah, I'm pro cello as well.
Right.
It's
a controversial opinion these days, but
We arrange based on what we might like to have, and sometimes that works out, and then sometimes it's based on who we have available at the moment, and that can also be really fun and lead to exciting new things.
tour was a lot of that because we picked up
Yeah.
so many friends
Yeah, I think at our most crowded we had 4 people and 6 instruments in the Prius. And so,
5. We had 5 at one point.
oh
didn't we?
god. Yeah, we were sitting on laps at that point.
That's exciting.
That's great.
When it comes to actual, the thing that I'm the least familiar with, I play across a lot of genres, right? I as a musician, I do rock and folk, and I do hip hop, and I do Broadway, and I do classical, and I do big band, I'm familiar with musical languages, and I like playing in them. what is more of a mystery to me is like the actual like the lyricism, not lyricism as in like the actual physical process of writing these songs, right? Because that's one thing that I'm just it doesn't really connect in my brain. You know, you try and do that, and I look at it, and I'm like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And I tear it up, and also I've never had like a reason to really do it, and I think that probably has something to do with the fact the reason why I haven't really tried much of it. You know, kind of a deal. Anyway, also sometimes you're just not good at things, but when it comes to like you both write songs for the group, right? And are you generally like coming up with lyrics on your own, or are you like collaborating, or is it a mixture of the two? Some are both, somewhere in between.
Well, I think we usually come up with lyrics, almost always come up with lyrics independently,
right.
At least in the generative stage, and then we edit together at times, and then arrange together.
Yep. Yeah. And what are you drawing from? Like, and why, like, how do you meld, like, what's the right musical sound with, like, what's the right words to go with this? Ooh.
Well, it's the entire craft,
Oh,
man.
yeah. Well, sometimes it's easy.
That's the entire
sometimes
like,
it's
that's
easy.
that's the germ, that's, like, the problem behind all of it.
That's really the whole thing. I mean, sometimes it's really easy, and you have an idea, you sit down, an hour later there's a song, verses and chorus, and there's a melody that goes with it. And then sometimes, like, I know I do, and I think you do as well, you have a lyrics bank of, like, you're sitting in the car and you come up with, this would be a nice rhyme, and you've nowhere to put it, so you put it in your phone or your notebook or whatever, and then keep adding to that, and then you draw on it later when you need a verse. I do that a lot, where a lot of my songs are kind of patchworks of previous lyrics that never found a home.
I think, I know we both do things different ways often, but I think one generalized pattern is that Lizzie has a background in poetry.
That's true.
In writing, and I had kind of like a background in composing. So I almost always will start something with like a mood and with some music, and then struggle to find the words to put on top of it. Whereas I feel like more often you do the opposite. You write, and then is that true?
Yeah, no, I mean, usually there's like some element of melody to go with it, but I usually start with like the second verse of a song, lyrics and melody, and then I write it out as if it were just like a solo singer-songwriter thing, whether on harp or guitar, and then I don't even think about the arrangement of it, or even often like what I'm gonna sing until much later. And that's how we help each other out. I think. I think that's the whole secret.
Collaborating and being friendly. What? So one thing I always find funny, like, and I don't know, maybe you can't speak to this, right? So so you listen to these songs. Sometimes you listen to songs, right?
And like what kind of song? Give me a landscape.
Okay. Like the most egregious example of this, I would say, I'm saying egregious, but I love this dude. Mm-hmm. This dude is Brandon Flowers.
Egregious, but I mean it in the best way.
I don't mean but he has a reputation for writing songs, great fucking songs too. Especially his most recent solo album is like one of my favorite things. But like his lyrics fucking make zero sense. Like sometimes like a chorus will make sense as a unit,
right?
But then it's just like these kind of like esoteric, like non sequitur-y kind of like swirling masses of words that don't necessarily string together in a cohesive thought, but sound really cool, and it's a really great song behind it. So who the fuck cares what? And this isn't just, it's not like that's just the example. Like this is like really, really widespread. Yeah. And every songwriter kind of, does that at some point, like where it's kind of like, what is this? Like, do you ever end up in a position where you're doing that? Yeah. And like, is that something that comes out of like this kind of patchwork? Like it just kind of fits.
Sometimes, when I'm writing music, I sort of imagine myself somewhere on the continuum between like this is gonna come out sounding unfair, but like between like the Mountain Goats, Sufjan Stevens, Joanna Newsom, and like your very on the nose top 40 country song, and like most songs I write are somewhere in between that like whimsy and image and visual language, and then like just saying precisely what you mean, even if it's not particularly graceful. And
I mean,
like both things can work, and I
and
think, but you need
it's not
both.
just top 40s country. I mean, like some
Yeah.
of the greatest. I mean, if you want to talk like Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn,
Yeah, exactly.
like Waylon Jennings, like these on the nose story, like narrative type songs, if you will, or just like talking about fucking dude or woman who fucked you over.
Exactly.
Like that's very effective, and so is like this kind of swirling like text painting kind of like imprecise deal with like you said, Sufjan, Joanna Newsom. But like, is it something that you like considered, or is it just like kind of sometimes it just kind of works out like that? I don't know
about you. I'm very conscious about that. I'm very conscious about that.
Yeah, I sometimes will stick with a thing because I really like the way it sounds.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll even start, like when I'm coming up with words, sometimes I'll just kind of be singing out syllables or something like that to find what feels like... Because again, if you start with a mood, sometimes getting the right consonant or vowel sound is really, really important, you know?
And what the actual word is less important.
Sometimes you gotta get a mood or a
other
sound
times
out.
that's not true.
Case, yeah.
Right. But kind of playing with that balance is part of the craft.
And I think that comes a lot in editing, like especially I often find that I'll write a song and it'll be chock full of images that may or may not have anything to do with each other. Like verse 1 might take place in an entirely different universe from verse 3. Mm-hmm. But when you go back and edit, you have to hope that there's some motif, whether it's across verses or often in the chorus, right? That's like, at some point in this song, have I said precisely what I meant? Have I said something that's going to be a takeaway? And hopefully there's some element of that, even if the song, deals in metaphor for a lot of it.
Right. Yeah, sometimes it's nice in a set of imagery and metaphors just have the one line that sticks out as just
it's
like
true.
a conversation, something you could just say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's other times where it can be a fun experiment. Like I've recently had a lot of fun with I had this poetry mentor when I was writing a lot of poetry in college, and she gave me the advice to, once you're done writing a poem, take a few days, take a break, and then come back and write a shadow poem. Like take each line or sentence or section, and whatever image you've put in there, whatever metaphor, write what you meant by that. Like write how you would describe it to someone. And then, so your left-hand column is your poem, your right-hand column is your shadow poem. And the right-hand column is often a lot more straightforward and can really guide you as to where you're actually trying to go with your writing. And I do that a lot in songwriting as well.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's easy to forget that like you can also treat like what you were saying, Pat, about like the consonant sounds and all this stuff. Like the voice can also just function as another instrument as opposed to like actually. I don't know. I find myself oftentimes just not paying attention to words anyway. So
yeah, we all have our things that stick out to us the most.
Depends on the music and all that, right?
And sometimes, to be fair to, I think there's really great musicians who, get teased for not being great lyricists, or vice versa. Lyricists who maybe didn't have great voices. We deal with a lot of that in folk, and that's fine. Like you can just you can love what you love about a particular artist without them having to do everything for everyone.
Yeah. So, as far as the materials and albumness that you have already have out,
I like that word.
Albumness.
Yeah.
I should have reminded myself of this before I came over here. I know you guys did release a live album in the spring, right?
Yep, we did.
Spring. In the spring? Late winter?
Winter, I believe.
Winter? See, that's the problem with me not remembering when I saw you guys live, because you guys talked about it then, and I talked about it with Matt
Yeah.
later, and I just can't remember like when these conversations were taking place.
It's all good.
Yeah, we should give a bigger shout out to Matt here. Matt
Yeah.
Kolodziejski, our cellist. Is
Yeah.
He is
really
a
excellent.
cellist of great talents and terrific hair.
Right.
Yeah, he has like perfect coif of red hair.
He's-
I'm very jealous.
He's a handsome guy
yeah,
Right.
and a good friend.
Right, yeah, but really, we can just give him anything, and he just kills it.
Oh, he's
He
great.
is he is an excellent.
He's such
cellist.
a treat to write. Like it's so nice to write with Matt in mind. You're like, ooh,
Right.
This is gonna sound good.
yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I've played with him many a time
Yeah, he's the dream.
in orchestras and such. But anyway, so you guys have a live album.
Mm-hmm.
You have an earlier EP, right?
Yes.
EP. Okay, I wasn't sure. That's what I couldn't remember, whether it was an EP or full length. And those are both available on all of
Oh yeah.
on platforms.
iTunes, Spotify, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Tidal, Google Play, and I believe Amazon.
You get
And I have a few bootleg
Are
CDs
you
in
getting
my
that-
apartment
getting that
if
Jay-Z
anyone's
money?
interested.
I think the YouTube as well.
Oh, YouTube. True.
Right.
YouTube Music.
Right.
Oh yeah, I saw an ad for that
Hot
app
Nine Startup.
literally
Yeah.
yesterday, and I
I
was
don't
like,
understand it.
like, it was someone really, really begging for another. No one's taking down Spotify.
Yeah.
If Taylor Swift can't take down Spotify, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
That's a woman who gets things done.
And she couldn't even take. Like
couldn't.
she made Apple Music bow to her will.
I believe that was a conspiracy.
I'm
I'm a conspiracy theorist when it comes to the T-Swift Apple takedown.
I hadn't thought of that until recently.
I think
when
they're
people
in
were
bed together.
talking about it. Well, they are now, just like her and Tom Hiddleston. But
Hey, this is a PG podcast.
I've already done a lot.
We can't discuss Taylor Swift's personal life.
I don't know the
We
celebrity gossip.
cannot.
I'm just gonna sit quiet.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Don't know what the corporations are up to.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is all. But this wasn't just like strict me talking like for promotional purposes.
Yeah.
This is I was actually wanting to ask you questions, but I like when T Swift comes up, just everything leaves my brain.
She's just like that.
It's my girl.
It's happening again.
Yep,
You
it's
really
happening.
can't be stopped.
Damn it. No. So why put out a live album instead of a studio album? I mean, other than
yeah.
like studio time is expensive, but that's a different thing.
Yeah, that's not a reason.
Yeah, I mean that is. I'm sure that's one reason.
Well, yeah, but we also, I mean, we play live. That's like the meat of what we do.
Yeah, we were on
And-
tour. We'd been doing all these live shows. We had done some studio work in
Yeah.
DC, which is also available on the things.
Yeah.
And I think we just kind of felt like we had material that was bubbling up.
Yeah. And we wanted to also hear how it would sound to like just make a record of like just like a yearbook of like where are we right now? What is our live sound? What does a live show sound like? And that's why we include I mean there's dogs barking, there's like people clapping, there's wrong
Sirens,
notes, there's
right,
sirens
yeah.
outside. It's like it's very much a living breathing thing, which I think we wanted just cuz we play folk music, so it should be about people and it should be about something that happens in a room with a particular set of
Yeah, playing in living
people.
rooms is
Yeah.
just amongst
Yeah.
the best types of places that
Well, yeah, like
folk
what
musicians get to
it's-
play. So
and-
that was great.
And
Oh,
with
it was fabulous.
with a
Such
folk
good-
sensibility, it's just so much. Well, I mean, it's a genre that works. Like you can't have Bon Jovi in your living room,
Yeah.
but you can have.
Ugh, much to my regret. Whew, what a guy!
You need like at least 30 feet between
Oh.
you and
It's like
the
staring
loud vocals of Living on a
directly into
Prayer.
the sun.
but like
Yeah.
I would submit like a group like the Civil Wars. I think their
Yeah.
best album is their live at
Oh my
Tom's
god,
Attic
it's
or whatever.
heart melting.
Like that. Like
Yeah.
that's I think far better than any of their studio albums, and their studio albums are good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because I mean, everything about the Civil Wars is not only their musicianship and their writing, but their chemistry. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like they are like the legends of of that
Sure, I mean, like
vibe in the past few years.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and that live album like is probably one of the more popular live albums that's come out in a while. But even a guy like Ryan Adams, like his live show at Carnegie Hall is one of my favorite things. Like that was, I mean, obviously I wasn't there in person because money, but
or Amy Mann. I mean, her.
Exactly. Like, so we're bringing up all these examples, but like, yeah,
live music is good.
Yeah.
And
live albums don't always. I mean, they're not all. A lot of times people are like, "Oh, I don't want the live version." But sometimes it can be just really fun to see where an artist was at a particular place in time, especially a young band. Like, what was their live show like when they were starting out? Is a fun thing for me to.
There are a few things more fun than Tiny Desk videos.
Yeah.
You know, like those just kind of
with space constraints and
right.
Yeah.
Another commercial.
Yeah.
For NPRs.
The NPR definitely needs our support.
We only do our commercials for nonprofits.
It's true.
Colleges.
It's true.
This is why we're poor.
We're getting to it. We're getting down to the meat of things.
Well. So like that, you know. All that being said, do you have more recording projects coming up, or is it just shows?
Do we
shows
ever?
And shows on shows on shows.
Well, it's shows on shows, but it's also both of us are. You just finished, right? Pat just finished recording his solo EP.
What?
I'm in the midst of making an album. We're doing it.
Making a solo album or making? Oh man.
It's a solo album in the sense that there's like 15 other people playing on it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But you know how it goes.
Yeah.
And Patrick wrote a lot of the arrangements for it and is going to play on it. But yeah, we each had so many songs that maybe didn't quite fit Devil in the Deep Blue Sea, and we wanted to see where that would go.
Mm-hmm. You wanted to Devil in the Deep Blue Sea, where that would go.
Exactly.
Yes. Nailed it.
Puns. We stuck the landing.
We made it. Here we are.
We all lived through that pun
I'm
together.
embarrassed. I'm embarrassed.
No, I'm
That's
proud.
definitely staying in, though.
I've never been prouder.
Yeah. So, but what do you guys have coming up?
You
in
start.
general?
Your stuff is first.
Sure, yeah. So EP's coming out on August 16th.
Woo!
Playing a release show at Rockwood Music Hall on September 17th here in New York.
Woo!
And also playing a show in Chicago and in San Francisco at the end of August with a great cast of characters as well. And yeah, Lizzie will be
one of those.
Holding a foam finger?
No, we'll be graciously doing a celeb appearance at Rockwood. Or were we supposed to leak that?
Yeah, don't tell anyone. No one's listening to this, right? No one's recording this.
Yeah, and we're always playing when Devil in the Deep Blue Sea stuff comes up.
'Tis true.
So yeah, how about you?
I have no idea when the album's gonna be finished. Maybe soon, maybe never.
I interviewed someone last year who was working on an album, and I think she like just finished recording it. Like this is like 11 months ago, and it was like she already had a single out and stuff, but like the rest of the recording happened like last month.
Yeah. it's a process. Having fun with it. I have some shows coming up. I'm playing at Alphabet Lounge September 10th. I'm gonna play at Cafe Ange Noir in Bushwick on the 30th, and I'm gonna go on a little solo tour. I did a tour this past winter with my friend Caroline Reese. She's an awesome singer-songwriter out of Pennsylvania, and we do these like ladies tours. So we're gonna go up and down the East Coast. We're gonna start out at Arlene's Grocery on October 12th, I think, and then go DC, Vermont, up and down.
Vermont.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Burlington. I'm excited.
Ladies can do the Kerouacian.
I know. You got to go together.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, I think we got it.
Yeah.
Feel good?
Yeah, it feels great.
I feel great.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
you.
you.
my name. I was looking the other way, saw a tear there on your face, and I don't know what for. I was trying to convey, I was listening all the same, but you hit me in the gut, and now I know what for. Driving out all night, we were heading up the 5. You were asking why, I just couldn't let it go. Pull over to the side, I just need to close my eyes for a minute and I'll be fine. No, I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. But still I was on the fence, and I've been there ever since. So, and I don't know what for. As we're turning round the bend, you check my blind spot and pretend that we know what's up ahead. No, I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. I gotta let it go. Till the sun. Nighttime driving up the coastline. We'll keep going till the sunrise.